Hey, welcome everybody. How are we? I have three amazing ladies for you today. Let me turn that down. I turned it down. And I have a cat who wants to join us, and it sounds like a dog as well. Annie, where are you? Annie, you can come back. Here we are. Okay. Hi everyone. Okay, I can see Nicole, Lisa. Hi Lisa. Great to have you here. I've got some incredible ladies I would love for you to meet today. All of these ladies have had, someone's got some noise in their background. I just, is there, can we just stop that from you? It's a bit distracting. Um, I've got three incredible stories for you today. It sounds like my voice might be echoing back at me. Somebody got that on in the background. Sorry, somebody got Facebook open. Can you just double check? Sorry, ladies.
I think it was.
Okay. All right, thanks. Yeah, there's just like this echo back at me. It was, yeah, we've got three incredible interviews I want to introduce you to today. All have had some incredible success, not only in their weight loss, but also in their health results as well. But many have also had trying times in the past with either food relationships or trying to achieve a weight loss goal in the past. And uh, all of them are having a much different experience this time round. And I wanted them to talk to you about what it is that is making the difference for them this time round. Aside from obviously a whole food plant-based diet, which we know is the vehicle to take us to our health and our weight loss goals. But there is another missing piece that I think a lot of people don't realize is so important in achieving a weight loss goal. And all of these ladies are really nailing it, and that's why they're nailing their success. So, without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Annie, Anne, and Margaret. And what I might do is I think I'm going to start with Annie. Annie, tell us about your story first. I might put the other ladies on mute just for the moment. Annie, hello. Annie is in Canada. Tell us a little bit about you, your backstory, and I know you've been interviewed in the past, but you're in a much different place than even when we last spoke. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your story, your health story, and then where you are today and the difference for you that has made the difference this time round. Even maybe even drop in there the story of your past relationship with food, if you're comfortable speaking about that.
Mm-hmm. So like Karen said, my name's Annie and I live in Canada, in Ontario. It's snowing actually right now. And in 2019, I was not at all like I was when I came to find Karen. I thought I was healthier, just all of the things. And then I was given a diagnosis of breast cancer that was quite aggressive and started down this whole journey. Fast forward, I had surgeries and then I did chemo and I did radiation alongside a naturopathic oncologist. So I did an integrative approach. And at the time, I was not plant-based, but went through the treatments, and the treatments they were harsh and they were hard, and I got through them, but it really left my body completely ravished, and then I also ended up suffering quite a lot of side effects. I had neuropathy quite badly, and then when I was put on I was also put on another drug, tamoxifen. Some women, if you're listening, you may have experience with it. And I ended up having a lot of side effects from that as well. And they tried cutting it in half. But a lot of things happened between the neuropathy and then not being able to stand and walk for very long. I was able to sort of manage like 10 minutes at a time, but the pain was excruciating and I had a lot of bone pain as well. And then which meant I also wasn't moving really well. And then you throw COVID into the whole mix. Um, and so there was a combination of not being able to move. There was comfort food. There were emotions that were coming up. I didn't recognize myself. One of the side effects was weight gain as well because I couldn't move. And then along with that came a type 2 diabetes. My A1C at the highest was a 10 point, I think it was 10.8, I think. Well, and my eyesight was already like, I would have moments where it would go blurry. I did not know it was related to that until afterwards. And then you would think that would be enough. And then there were issues with my liver.
Mm.
And then was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver as well. So I started researching and had started hearing little things about a whole food plant-based diet. And I started praying a lot. And I had 3 people bring whole food plant-based diet, one of which was the hepatologist for my liver. And they prescribed the whole food plant-based eating. They actually said to me, she says, well, I'm going to be honest with you. She says, there is no pill that can fix this, but there is something that has got, and she said like that there's science behind and it can help. And I believe if you apply it and you decide to do this, that you can reverse your type 2 and your fatty liver, if you're willing to try it. And then she told me that it was this whole food plant-based diet. And in my head, I was just in shock because doctors don't talk about it. So I said yes. And but it was really scary because I really didn't know what that was going to look like. And I already Karen mentioned and I don't mind mentioning it. I also had a history of eating disorders in my past, from when I was younger, and then like even right up into like my late 20s and early 30s, and then that kind of went away, but was re-triggered after a diagnosis with cancer. And I was told afterwards it's not uncommon to have it because it's a coping mechanism.
Mm.
Um, so anyway, so there was all of that to deal with. But I made a comment one day in this private Forks Over Knives group. And Karen, I don't even remember what I said, but you popped in and then you and I started talking. And then we had an interview together. And when I started with you, I was terrified because I didn't know what my life was going to look like. And I didn't recognize what it looked like after treatment. I couldn't walk. I had put on weight. I was type 2. Heard this could help people. And I had an eating disorder history. I didn't know if I could do this. I was like absolutely terrified,
Mhm.
terrified. And you said, and then you and I chatted. And so, um, you said something about, I'm trying to think of the exact words, but I can't right now, but it struck a chord and I kind of just jumped on it. Because at that point I had nothing to lose. So where I was then and where I am now is like night and day because I've reversed the type 2 diabetes and I was taken off all the medication. I've lost 50 pounds now. and my fatty liver is reversing, and my AST and ALT, those are enzyme levels, are all starting to normalize. So everything is literally, I'm walking, I'm hiking 14 kilometers
Yeah.
in the wilderness.
Yeah.
That happened this summer for the first time, and I remember getting to my car and I cried because I couldn't believe I had done that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, and the biggest, it what, yes, the food played a big part. Um, but it was the biggest shift was the whole mindset. It was just how I looked at everything.
Yeah. Talk to us
It
about
was huge.
talk to us about some of the major mindset changes that you feel that you have made along this journey that have helped you to your goal.
Um, one of the first things I remember that really struck me was one time I had eaten something,
Mm.
and most people could probably relate. You'll eat and you'll go like, "Oh my gosh, I've just blown it," and and that's it. So it could literally trigger a full-on binge or just go sabotage, like just throw in the towel.
Mm.
But I remember we'd had a session, and you had talked about sitting with your feelings. And so I did that. And then your voice said, but it's just food. Like it was just food. So you had that. And I remember it was a bagel and it had cheese on it. That's what it was. They put cheese on this bagel that I thought was just going to have veggies. It's just food. And you've got like, there's the next meal like that. It's one moment. And I remember that was the first thing. It's just food. And in that, when that came to my mind, I think that was the beginning of my relationship with food changing.
Mhm.
Two was recognizing that it was just food. It didn't have the hold it had on me started to lose its grip. And that was really, really huge. Um, and it was that, and then it was just realizing that there was so much freedom in the way that I was eating. All these things that I used to have to restrict, like grains, like I hadn't had like rice or potatoes or legumes, like it had been years trying to do like everything was just so drastic. And all of a sudden I was like, I can have brown rice and I can have chickpeas and I can have like all these foods that I hadn't eaten. And all of a sudden I had all of this abundance. I did still have to fight. Like cheese was a really hard one for me.
Mm.
Um, and then you told me about the book. Oh, it's by Dr. Neil Bernard, the cheese book.
The cheese trap or something like that. Yeah.
There was the Pleasure Trap, but there was another one.
Yeah, cheese. I,
I can't remember
I
now.
know which one you mean. I haven't actually read it, but I know which one you mean. Yeah.
But you had me pick that. Well, you told me about it and I picked it up. You didn't have me pick it up. And I read it. And that was really big. But for me, it was just looking at food as, it's just food. Like it's, I actually have control over what I put at the end of my fork at the next meal.
Yeah.
Like, so I just had that. So it was the mindset, and the longer that I've been with you and in this group and having that and having all of the tools and how to plan for trips and to call ahead, all those things and all those exercises that you had us do that were scary. So
Yeah.
like standing up for yourself and say, well, actually, I'm plant-based. Like if you're making reservations somewhere or making a phone call, those were scary things because it was the first time I started to actually um, put myself first and say that I mattered and
Yeah.
that my health mattered. And I hadn't done that before. I did that for everyone else, but I never actually, in my entire life, like I had never done that for myself. I never actually said like, no, I matter.
Mm. Yeah.
I actually matter and my health matters. And it's okay to say that this is what I want. And that was, but that all started with this group and it didn't happen overnight. And I think our group chats with Margaret and with Anne, I love these women because we've been together now, I don't even know how many weeks and
For a
weeks
long
and like,
time.
yeah.
Almost,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but you
Your
feel
head.
like family,
Yeah.
but being able to like come together and share sometimes and then cheer each other on and
Mm,
remind each other like, how was your week? Oh, it was actually, really rough because this didn't happen, or I did this, or I put on this. And then we actually look at each other and we go, but the win is that you're here today. Like you showed up. And
yeah.
it's just like, yeah, yeah, we showed up.
Yeah.
And we just kind of cheered each other on and stayed accountable to one another. And their support and hearing their stories and their own struggles made me feel not so alone, and or they'd share how they overcame something and then I was able to take that away.
Mm,
That was huge.
hmm.
It was way more than just eating whole food plant-based. It really went into the inside. I think I changed
Yeah.
as a person
Yeah. You've
because I
definitely
look in the
changed a lot.
mirror and it's just like I can be kind to myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I actually have a post-it note but over my sink in the corner, because I'm often by the sink doing dishes and things. And it just says, be kind to myself. And that's all it says, just be kind to myself.
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, the mindset was the biggest, and having like, yeah, food isn't so scary anymore. It doesn't really have a hold the way that it did, but it was the mindset. That's the biggest.
Yeah.
And this group.
Beautiful. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, I can really see the difference in you and I know how scared you were um, when
I
we,
think I cried through most of our
yeah.
first interview, like our
Yeah.
chat. Like,
You need this. You need this, Annie. You need to start here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
um,
yeah. Because I really didn't, yeah, I really thought my life was like that was going to be my life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I
you
feel like you and this group, you guys gave me my life back.
amazing. Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
happy to be part of that journey, and but I think you started to create a vision for yourself as well of the life that you really want,
Mhm.
didn't you? Rather than being fearful and not knowing, the more you know, the more you have a vision of what it is that you want, the more you're going to start creating that. You're going to find people and resources and the things that are going to help you start creating that. So in somewhere in you, you must have had a bit of a vision of like, I need I need the help
Yeah,
to get to that place of health that I want to be at. So
yeah. But I was afraid to dream that vision.
yeah.
And you had us do that one of the first exercises you had us do with the whys, but then, and I won't give it away because people, you need to do this. Um, you had us do it in such a different way that I had never done,
Mm,
and how you had us break it all down. Right, Anne? Right, Margaret? Like,
yeah.
yeah, it was life changing. Like that was the moment everything just
Change.
changed.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, well, your story has, I mean, definitely inspired me, and I'm hoping that it's inspired, a lot of other people. If anyone's got any questions here, for Annie, I'm just sort of looking at the chat here, just to see, please drop those in, and we might come back to those a little later. But thank you, Annie. We might just pop to Anne next and have a chat to Anne. What we might do at the end is just maybe have a bit of a group chat together and a bit of a summary together. But yeah, so everyone meet Anne, Anne from Texas, Texan
Yeah,
girl.
information.
Hi, Anne. So yeah, same with you. Tell us your story. A little bit of your history, and then your journey to get to where you are today and the difference that's made the difference.
Well, I live in West Texas, and there's lots and lots of restaurants for Mexican food and steak and beef and there's no vegetarian restaurants. We actually just now I found out there's a vegetarian or vegan food truck, and I haven't had an opportunity to try that out yet. But I was interested in this because in the next community over is a very, very active program run through their hospital. They're designated as what they call a healthy city, and they're very involved. Once a year, they have a big program where I've been going for some an all day long thing. And I've seen Dr. Michael Greger, who's big in this field, speak in person, and the husband and wife neurologists from California, Drs. Dean and Ais and Sherzai, and some real leaders in this. I've been really fortunate to hear speak about this. So I was starting to do this on my own. And this organization in the next community has some events, but I hadn't been able to attend them very consistently. So, doing my own research and getting started, and I don't really remember how it was I found Karen, but probably that forks over knives thing because I started watching that Facebook group and all that. But I knew I just needed some accountability, and I was in this on my own. My husband had no interest in this way of life, and I tried to sort out how I was going to do this for myself and still cook for him. And everybody on Facebook gets angry and says, "Well, make them fix their own food." Well, that really doesn't work out. We've been doing it all these years. So anyway, that's kind of how I found her, and I certainly did need that, and I needed to go back to basics. And some of the best things that I've learned was, the business on how our brain resists such change. It resists these things. It acts like a petulant toddler when I want that candy. I want you've seen a kid throw a fit in the grocery store over wanting something that's right there by the checkout stand, and they put things there right by the checkout stand for that very reason, by the way. But I felt like I had a good grounding in nutrition and some of the basics there, and I certainly didn't mind cooking. I had recently retired, so I felt like I had the time to really study this and pursue it. But I just needed some accountability, and that's the other good thing with these Facebook groups and these group what I call group therapy with you ladies is done because it's just it's kind of working on your own little self-imposed mental blocks. And I certainly came from a family of when we were little, there was 4 kids and family of 6, and money wasn't growing on trees like pretty much everybody, and I was certainly we remember the clean your plate club. Whatever was on your plate, you had to clean it or you weren't going to get any dessert. And so that's always been ingrained on me, just the thriftiness of not wasting food. And now the way restaurant portions have become just ridiculous. And when we did eat out, which wasn't terribly often, but still it was just became somewhat out of control. So as I was retiring with some medical challenges, I also was putting on weight. Retirement really wasn't my plan at that point. I also, doing some routine blood work, was diagnosed with pre-diabetes about a year ago, January a year ago. And I have a family history. I've always was so angry at my oldest brother at how poorly he took care of himself. He was always heavy all through, our childhood and growing up, and adulthood got worse and worse, and he developed diabetes and he had heart trouble, and it was just also self-inflicted. But if I looked at myself in the mirror, I was headed that direction, and well, no point being all angry at him. And then he died young. He died at 67, and had a major heart surgery when he was in his 40s. So, he just, I thought, well, why are you so mad at him? Look at this, look at yourself. So, I really buckled down about a year ago. I've been dabbling, I guess, in this, trying to make myself eat more vegetables and more fruit, be more aware of this, but really kind of went all in. It's not perfect by any means. I mean, there's days when I thought, well, that wasn't a perfect day, but it's like you say, Annie, it's just food. Or what I tried to, what I've said to myself over, well, make the next best choice. You're in a place where there is just absolutely nothing that's the quote right thing to eat on that menu or at somebody's house. Make the next big choice. If you have to empty the salad bowl or whatever it is, and they make the next best choice that you can do. So, at this point, and the other terribly important thing is I've been successful in the past with Weight Watchers and things, but it never lasted. It's like I never learned never got ingrained in my brain that this is the way it has to be. And so this time I just went into it in a real different mindset, and I just didn't care how long it took. And I absolutely thought, well, in fact, the longer this takes, that's the longer you have to build good habits and, learn from this whole process and learn what works and learn what doesn't work. So at this point, I've lost about 45 pounds, which these other two ladies have lost their weight in a much shorter period of time because mine's approximately a year. And I have, a lot more to I have consistent, I got more to go. I'm not finished by a long shot, but it doesn't matter because it's steady, it's consistent, feel like I've made good habits. And, it's like Annie said about this group, the fact that we all have different struggles, but there's bits and pieces of it that are absolutely the same. And so learning how somebody else has dealt with this, I can't imagine. I hadn't heard this whole story about this horrible breast cancer and you couldn't walk in the neuropathy, Annie. I imagine you thought, if this is going to be my life when I think I've beat breast cancer, well, what's the deal? Why, if this is what I got to look forward to, geez, why bother? So, mine was nothing that dramatic, but it certainly was headed in a way that was not good. I still struggle with sweets. I had a horrendous Diet Coke habit that I've kicked. I really think I have. I've spent 3.5, almost 4 weeks now without any, and so I can certainly avoid that now very easily. So saving a little money along the way too. So that's never a bad thing. But it's just the group has been tremendous. And there's another regular attender, really kind gentleman named Robert. His struggles are not unlike ours either. So still find myself having some little binging thoughts or, little, what could be sneaky behavior and go, wait a minute, who are you trying to kid? Who are you hiding this from? You know this. What the hell are you doing that for? So part of it is you just talk yourself out of some of this stuff and you say, you don't want that Coke. You just want to go drink some more water or go eat something else to change that taste in your mouth. So anyway, it's been great. It's been helpful. Karen's been terribly supportive, been very helpful in the mental part of dealing with this. I just always thought weight loss was one of those, just suck it up and do it. Eat what they tell you to eat. You don't eat this and forget about it, blah, blah. Well, I come to find out it's really not that part really doesn't work all that well. If you don't really understand why your body resists some of these changes, and more than that, your brain resists some of these changes. So that part's been wonderful, and having these consistent ladies very regularly is everybody gets to the age where you got some medical problems. It's so nice to know that you can play a very, very, very active part in taking charge of that. That it doesn't have to be just because, well, I'm diabetic, because some of my family's diabetic. Well, no, it doesn't have to be that way. So that's
100%.
not a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just on what you were saying about your experience with Weight Watchers in the past, and the difference in our group. We were talking the other day about how with Weight Watchers that you have to lose a certain amount of weight each week. Um, and if you don't, it's like getting a rap over the knuckles. Well, what have you been doing wrong? There's none of that in our group. It's like I don't even know. Like I just ask you. So where are you up to now? Like, where are you at now? I don't ask you what did you lose last week. How did you? It's like no. So how much totally now? Where are you at now? It's more about stepping back and looking at the whole picture. We know that weight loss doesn't happen on a regular sliding scale each week, although for some people it can. But for most people it doesn't, and it's about that longer journey, and that you've said, sinking into the journey, seeing it as a marathon rather than needing to sprint your way to the end. And I think you were saying the other day as well that it really helps you change who you are on the inside. You become more of the person capable of being at the goal weight. The slower that you take it, the faster that you go, you haven't evolved to be that person yet, which is why you end up springing back and putting the weight back on. So that was a really great statement that you made the other day too. So
Yeah.
thanks, Anne. Um,
Well, people that have really drastic, really rapid weight loss, your body can't acclimate. You can't get used to that. And you may like the way you look and that you drop 4 dress sizes in 2 months or something like that. But that's completely, completely illogical, and it's not maintainable, and
mm,
it's just completely unreasonable. So,
yeah,
it's just kind of nice and slow. And I'm really happy with my weight
yeah,
sizes down in jeans and stuff like that. So, it's just the little stuff, you know.
yeah, exactly. Little changes made often, taking you in the right direction and working on. Is there anything in terms of mindset shifts that you feel have been like the biggest changes for you or the biggest ahas for you?
Well, how filling and how satisfying this plant-based diet is, that you can be so creative with it. If you're not terribly creative and want to go by recipes and stuff, that's great. But, if you've got a lot of bits and pieces of stuff in your refrigerator or your pantry, you can throw together things that are, you say, well, this may not be a company meal, but it's pretty darn good for me tonight. So that was the biggest thing. And just this thing about tuning into your brain and why your brain slows down and says, wait a minute, don't change this too fast. I don't like this. And you just kind of power on through that. Yeah,
Yeah.
getting past that clean your plate mentality, if that's the issue, and I still do have an issue to do that, well, just start off with less on your plate. You can always get more if you want it. So,
That's a good way to do it, yeah. Or even downsize the size of your plate because
yeah,
having a big plate with a small amount on it, the brain still goes, "That's not a big meal. You're not going to be satisfied with that. Put more on." Whereas if you've got a smaller plate and food takes up more space, it could be even less food, but it looks more satisfying just to visually look at. There's so many things, so many cues that we take in that tell us, that are encouraging us or sending us messages about food and eating and how much we should eat. And none of it's coming from our stomach, none of it's coming from our body. So, these are all the things that we need to pay attention to. And yeah, I'm like you, the cleaning your plate club and watching for that like satiation point is something that I still need to pay attention to
yeah,
every single day as well.
yeah. It was part of the reward system as a child. You cleaned your plate and then you got a treat. And I still do struggle a little bit with sweets, but that way I've turned it into having something with fruit in it for my quote dessert. It's very satisfying. But all this stuff about eating all these legumes and the whole grains, like Annie said, it's very satisfying. It really is something very noble about eating healthy things.
Yeah, and that's another
Yeah,
identity shift, isn't it? Like just feeling proud of what you're putting into your body.
exactly.
Yeah. Instead of you're now taking the stance of like honoring your body, say, nourishing your body, instead of just eating food, satisfying the brain. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you, Anne. Awesome hearing from you. We might circle back to you in a moment and let's talk to Margaret. How are you, Margaret? You're still on mute, my dear. Oh, that's video. There we
That
go.
it now?
Good. Yes.
Technologically challenged. All right. Well, I think my start was a little bit different. I had already been plant-based for a couple of years, never really liked the taste of meat very much, and just was so encouraged by all of the stories on forks over knives, people's health so improved. But I hadn't been losing any weight. I was taking care of my mother in the late stages of her life with dementia, and also taking care of my two grandchildren. So I wasn't able to be active. I had to stay home all day with them. And the pressure of that led me to drink a lot of alcohol at night, trying to escape the difficulty of the day. And I really had my mom had kind of convinced me that I couldn't do anything right. Now, that was her dementia mostly, but I couldn't do anything right. And when I started working with Karen, I had come to the idea that this was the last ditch effort. If it didn't work this time, I just did not have the strength to try again. And I didn't think that I could do it. My pattern was try really hard for a couple of weeks. If the scale didn't do what I thought it ought to, throw in the towel. You see, you can't do it. I knew you couldn't. And then I'd gotten to where I would only try really hard for about 2 days and then give it up. See, I can't do it. Even after I started working with Karen, I'd been only working with her for a week or two, and I was ready to throw in the towel again. But I knew she was going to be sitting there waiting to talk to me, so I didn't. And then she said, "You're doing a great job. Why are you thinking this?" Or some words to that effect. And it was eye-opening that I could do this. Oh my goodness. At one point she told me I was a superstar. And so now I have a little star fake tattoo on my wrist. And every time I struggle, I just take my finger and tap it like, yeah, superstars don't do that. Just quit. Don't do that. Don't go there. And I struggled so much with that scale. And so I think one of the best things that I learned from Karen was, yeah, the scale's going to go up a couple of pounds, but you didn't just eat 7,000 extra calories. There has to be another reason why it went up. So don't sweat it. You got more water in your body. You've got a lot of inflammation going on, but you didn't gain 2 pounds overnight. And so I could relax and not stress so much on the scale and not be tempted to just throw in the towel because it went up a pound or two. And I had the same experience, and that you had with Weight Watchers. Lost a lot of weight, but it was all focused on don't eat this now. And in my mind, it said, oh, but when I get there, I can have those things again. There was no addressing the emotional things I was going through, my fear of failure, my fear of doing something wrong. And so, of course, it just went right back on. But this time it's different. And I'm not the same person as when I met Karen over the phone 4 months ago. I'm not that same person. I'm more confident. I know I can do it. And there's so many tricks, like talking to your little child brain back here. Be quiet back there. I don't want to eat that. Now just be quiet. You know you don't need that. And then the urge goes away in, a matter of 30 seconds, a minute. It's gone. I just never knew those things. And it's just been wonderful. And then as well, for me, who always feared messing up, who always feared making a mistake and getting in trouble, her comment once that, well, a mistake just narrows the window of what you find will work. You did that. Okay. Well, that didn't work. So now the window is narrower, and you're just making the path more clear. And that took all the stigma away from, I messed up, I did it wrong, I'm going to get in trouble because I didn't do it right. And it's really freeing
Yeah.
to hear that.
There's no getting in trouble with me.
No.
It was all just exploration. What led to that? What was the decision that led to that? And clearly didn't have the right outcome. So that's not the right path. It's okay to experiment every now and then. It's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We learn from them. And I think with the biggest thing for you, though, you said it the other day too, was the self-talk. No longer, speaking to yourself unkindly. It was a way of speaking to yourself that you had been taught. And it was almost like an inner healing that we worked a lot on, and letting go of that voice that is not even yours, that you have picked up, that you've been taught this is how you were taught to treat yourself. And so letting go of that, healing that wound, and learning how to speak to yourself with loving kindness, treating yourself like the superstar that you actually are, right? Shifting that identity by putting that, I love the fake tattoo on your, I reckon you should just get a real one right there.
I'm thinking about it. My age, I never thought I'd do that, but I'm considering that. Seriously, I'm gonna live with the fake one for about a year and make sure that's what I really want to do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I love that that's such a huge anchor for you, and it's reminding you who you really are.
Mhm.
And superstars don't beat themselves up. They're just so confident, like, I'm a legend, let's go. And that's really changed a lot, of that internal speak, how you treat yourself if you do slip up. There's been less slip ups as a result. You're not expecting yourself to make so many mistakes. You're not expecting yourself, because that was your narrative before, I can't get anything right and I'm going to make all the mistakes and I'm going to fail. So we've really worked on changing that story that's been driving the result that you were getting in the past. And yeah, your first goal for the first 6 months was to be 25 pounds down. We were just aiming for that, average
Mm.
1 pound a week. And yeah, you've got there in 4 months. You've got there much faster than you expected. It was amazing. And what, like you talked about before too, one of the things that you had to really change was that relationship with the scale. Like you're weighing every day with like, have I done it right? Have I done it right? And wanting that scale to go down every day. And when I said, well, if we're aiming for 1 pound a week, divide that by 7, how much does that make every single day? Really don't think you can see that on the
Hey,
scale. And I remember you came to one session one week. I think we were about, I don't know, well, we were 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, or something like that, and you were concerned because the scale had gone up a pound during the week, and you were about to throw in the towel, and you had to talk yourself out of it. And I said, "Hang on, you're 6 pounds down in 4 weeks. You're concerned about this? Let's stand back and look back at the big picture." And you suddenly went, "Oh, I get it."
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
a turning point. That really was, and not giving the scale the power over what I thought I was, you know,
yeah.
capable of, or what kind of job I was doing. And it just doesn't bother me anymore. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of internal shifts there for you that are making a difference this time round. Yeah. So yeah, for all of you, like you've had incredible, not just incredible results, um, but your internal shifts are the things that are really anchoring that for you this time round versus other attempts in the past. You can all come on and like bring your microphones on if you want, like get involved in the chat. It's all a bit of a free for all now, if you've got anything more to add to that conversation. But yeah, I've just been noticing, like, week on week, how much of a change internally. And this is when I know somebody's really going to be successful, when I see the internal shifts start to happen and the ahas start to drop, and and the real commitments start to happen. The fear disappears, and the doubts, the limiting beliefs, and that sort of stuff really start to shift. That I can really see, this person's going to be really, really successful. So yeah, um, anything more that you ladies would like to add to that?
I just think that the lessons that we've had to work through, starting with our whys, um, the things about story, some of that was very difficult for me to revisit, but it was also so important. I mean, I think you've done more for me making me go through exercises than my counselor did all those years back. He could never get me to the point where I didn't feel like I had to be perfect. I could never understand why that was there. And yet you've helped me dive into it and discover the why, and just can just go away. It doesn't affect me anymore because I finally saw what it was. Those mental exercises are the difference
Yeah.
in the success. They make all the difference.
Yeah, yeah. It's mostly in the mind. Like the diet, I was trying to think of an analogy the other day. It's like the mindset is sorry, the food is the thing that is going to I guess power the wagon, right? It's the fuel for the wagon that is going to get you to your goal, right? So put the right fuel into the wagon and it's going to get you to your goal. But the mindset is the wagon, right? The thing that you keep falling off is the wagon
Mm-hmm.
because the mindset keeps falling off. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you've got the right mindset in place, the right fuel in the tank, then you're going to get to your goal. Yeah, brilliant. Anne, any last words before we round up?
I just think there's food has such a powerful role in everybody's life. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. You know, if you were one who went to your grandmother's house every day after school and she always had warm cookies that were fresh, or you think about the holiday meals here, at least in the States, Thanksgiving meals, Christmas meals. I mean, it's tradition. What do you mean we're not going to have that? Because that was Aunt Fran's best pie, or that was grandma's favorite whatever. You know, it just we have business meetings over lunch. We have salespeople call on you in your office. They bring donuts or cookies or what. When you think about the role, the power that we have given food in our lives, that's it's no wonder that we are such mental creatures when it comes to making those changes in the habit. I never had any diagnosed eating disorders, but I look back on myself and there were some things that I carried well into adulthood, that things I thought I deserved, or it was my little treat, or something I'd eat privately, or just almost a sneaky thing. So you just it's part of letting go of some of that power of food and saying, we'll still have Thanksgiving this year if I have an all uh, whole food plant-based meal. And I'll have some relatives that can still eat what they want and they can bring what they want, but I might they might enjoy some of the things that I'm doing too. So it's just having the strength to be willing to let go of some of those things. It's not going to kill you if you don't have Aunt Fran's best pie this year. It'll be okay. You can substitute another healthy plant-based dessert that people would enjoy and not have any idea what they were, that it was, such a healthier choice. So,
And create new traditions as well.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
just because, I mean, it's wanting familiarity and comfort in some way. But, we can seek familiarity and comfort in the things that we do, the people that we hang out with, the things we do at Thanksgiving or Christmas Day or things like that. If there's no, I'm thinking about, the traditional foods that people grew up with, there's no way I would ever want to recreate the meals that I grew up with. I really didn't like the food that I grew up with. So for some of us it's just not a thing. But yeah, we can start to recreate our own traditions and come up with our own ways, in terms of food, but still relive the things that we do with the people that we love on those special occasions too, and continue that tradition. Um, yeah, great point. How about you, Annie? Any last
A lot of, well, a lot of it they've already said. Um, but yeah, but it really, really is that the mindset, it changed. It wasn't even so much that it was the whole, we did, like, our thoughts started to change, the narrative begins to change. There really was a whole renewing of the mind happening, and that whole renewing of the mind, though, connected to our heart as well. So that then there became this overflow in how I began to treat myself. Do
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? So where it was easy for me to do that for other people, to serve them and love them and care for them in words and actions and in the food that I would serve them. The narrative that I used to feed myself was very much like Anne's and like Margaret's. And it was very, there was a lot of um, self-condemnation, and that all started to shift. And as the mindset started, and a lot of that happened with how you spoke to us, and and how you taught us. There was this, you would share the information with us like with such grace, and you would hear what we would be sharing with you and saying to you, and then you would repeat to us in a way that we would hear what we were actually saying to ourselves, like, but no, you're not a failure, or like, you're a superstar, like you really did great, or but did you see that it was 6 pounds and not like just the one? And so we're looking at the big picture, not the big picture like end goal, but the big picture as like the journey. And you helped us know and learn how to celebrate ourselves as well. And in doing that, like the little things, for myself, I would notice like, oh my gosh, today I actually felt full. I knew it say like, this is satiation. I remember the first time, like I didn't eat till like over full, because that was because with my relationship with food, I did not know, I couldn't tell when I was full. And I know that sounds crazy. I could tell when I was hungry. I could tell when I was over hungry. And that could then lead to binging because it was overeating. But then at that point, it was a trigger. And you're so hungry that you're just like going on autopilot, and you don't know where the shut off button is. But the first time I actually was just eating, I was hungry, and I was like, I'm just gonna honor my body. My body is what, like it knows when it's hungry, because diet culture and like all of that says, no, don't eat until, or stop even if you're still hungry.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it
this many
felt very,
points, this many
yeah.
calories, no, nothing more. Yeah.
So this was very counterintuitive to everything that we've been taught and everything we've been fed. No pun intended. Like, so it was very counterintuitive. And so I was hungry and I started eating, and then I felt like, oh, I'm full. And I remember like I was so excited because I couldn't remember the last time that had happened. And so it became so much easier. But it was changing that narrative and learning to celebrate, and you just start to really love on yourself in a very natural, organic way. And it's a real gift. It was a real gift that you've given all of us to be able to look in the mirror and say and see, wow, like I am great. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am, worth it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really huge that you've changed us all. And it's still going. I don't think we're even close to being done. I still see us changing more.
Beautiful. And it's all about evolution. Yeah, I mean, they were some of the biggest things that I had to change as well, as that inner narrative too. So I know how transformative that is in terms of heading towards your goals. So thank you, ladies. We've got a couple of comments here from one. Lisa says, thank you for sharing your stories. I love hearing success stories. Melissa says, you're all amazing. Thank you for being so brave and sharing that with us. Thank you. So yes, had a few people watching today. So thank you all for being here, and sharing your stories. Yeah, I was excited about today. And yeah, I think, this is really going to help a lot of people, because there's a lot of people out there who have been or are feeling a little bit stuck, feeling like they're in the same situation that maybe you were when you started, and maybe don't have that inner belief or the inner voice, the mindset that is going to carry them forward. And I'm hoping that by hearing your stories and hearing how you have changed and what has made the difference for you, it's going to help them um, with their own internal changes as well on the journey, and help them have success. So thank you for sharing that with everybody today, and yeah, thanks for being here. And I think we'll wrap that
Okay.
up now. All right,
High five.
everyone.
High five.
High five.